Once upon a time, in a kingdom far beyond the realms of mere mortal comprehension, there was a poor king who lived in a humble abode. He was not a wealthy king, nor was he a particularly wise one. Instead, he was just a man who happened to hold the title of king simply because his father had held it before him. His life was unremarkable, filled with the mundane tasks and chores that come with ruling a kingdom, no matter how small. But he did have one companion that brought him great joy. A loyal wolf that he had rescued as a pup from the brink of death. This wolf, whom he named Fenrir after the great wolf of Norse mythology, was not only his faithful pet but also his closest friend and confidant. One fateful day, the king decided to go for a walk in the forest surrounding his kingdom. He had grown weary of the same old scenery and wanted to clear his head. Little did he know that this simple act would change his life forever. As he wandered deeper into the woods, he stumbled upon a strange, glowing mushroom. Intrigued, he picked it up and brought it back to his palace. Unbeknownst to him, this mushroom was cursed, and as soon as he touched it, a powerful enchantment was cast upon him. The next thing he knew, he was no longer a man, but a lowly toad, writhing on the floor of his study. As the days passed, the king slowly began to realize that he was dying. His transformation into a toad was not only physical but also magical in nature. And each passing moment brought him closer to the end. He was tormented by the knowledge that his once loyal subjects would soon discover his true fate and cast him out, leaving him to die alone in the forest. The only thing that gave him any comfort was the thought of Fenrir, his beloved wolf, who he had left behind in his home. He prayed that the wolf would be all right without him. Meanwhile, Fenrir had sensed something amiss the moment the king had left the palace. The usually cheerful Fenrir became restless and anxious, pacing back and forth in the yard, whining and howling at the door. Unable to bear the silence and loneliness any longer, Fenrir made the difficult decision to venture forth into the forest in search of his master. As the wolf traversed the familiar paths they had walked together, a sense of foreboding settled in its heart. It knew deep down that it was too late, but it couldn't shake the hope that perhaps there was still a chance for them to be together again. Days turned into weeks, and still Fenrir searched tirelessly. It roamed far and wide, following every scent and trail that might lead it closer to the king. Eventually, it stumbled upon the glowing mushroom that had caused all this chaos in the first place. Fenrir recognized it as the same mushroom the king had brought home from his walk. With a newfound determination, the wolf followed the trail of mushrooms back to the enchanted clearing where the king had first been transformed. As Fenrir approached the clearing, it could sense the king's presence nearby. It crept through the underbrush, carefully avoiding any potential danger, until finally it came upon the toad-like form of its master. The wolf let out a soft whine, nudging the toad gently with its nose. The toad, weak from his ordeal, struggled to turn its head towards the sound. When their eyes met, there was an instant recognition and bond that transcended words. Fenrir licked the toad tenderly, offering what comfort it could. Over the course of the next few days, Fenrir stayed by the king's side, protecting him from any harm and keeping him company as they waited for a miracle to occur. The wolf refused to abandon the only family it had ever known, even as the king's condition continued to deteriorate. In the end, their bond was what saved them both. As the sun set on their final evening together, a brilliant light filled the forest, banishing the enchantment that had bound them for so long. The king was transformed back into his human form, and Fenrir, now freed from its curse, was once again a majestic wolf. Together, they walked out of the forest and back into the kingdom they had both fought so hard to protect. The people of the kingdom, seeing the king and Fenrir return together, were filled with awe and wonder. They knew that something miraculous had happened, and they could see the love that bound the two of them. As they processed the king's transformation, they also began to understand the depth of Fenrir's loyalty and devotion. The king and his wolf became symbols of hope and resilience in the face of adversity. And their story was told for generations to come. Though they faced many more challenges in the years that followed, the king and Fenrir remained inseparable. They ruled their kingdom with wisdom and compassion, guided by the unbreakable bond they had forged in the depths of the enchanted forest. And even when Fenrir grew old and frail, the king ensured that his faithful companion was never alone. For he knew that Fenrir was not only his pet, but also his truest friend and confidant.